Let me just ask you, first of all, what we've heard from the White House about the prospects for a shutdown. Kevin, they're laying out all that's on the agenda this week. What's the White House saying about the path to Friday?
Well, the White House is really doubling down on their request for $1.5 billion in border wall funding. Mick Mulvaney has proposed a trade-off between the Obamacare subsidies, the cost-sharing reduction payments, and those border wall funds. However, Democrats feel that they have the advantage. Trump, during the campaign, said that Mexico would, in fact, be paying for the border wall. Senate Democrats came out with a report last week showing that the cost of the border wall over its lifetime could amount to $70 billion. And they point to polls that show the wall is not all that popular, including and especially among Republicans representing border wall areas. So the White House may be somewhat isolated in this request, and so far we have not seen House Speaker Paul Ryan or Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell really back the White House in its latest push.
You know, this is something that Julie Pace, the chief White House correspondent for the AP, discussed with President Trump in a very long interview last week on Friday. What did he have to say about whether or not he would accept a funding agreement that did not explicitly include funding for a wall?
Well, the key question is whether President Trump will veto a bill that is going to not have border wall funding. I mean, that's when push comes to shove. All these negotiations on Capitol Hill have saber rattling, but the question is who is going to feel the blame? And right now, President Trump and Republicans in Congress are perceived to control the government. So if the government shuts down and President Trump vetoes a bill that does not have that, he would have to be prepared to shoulder the blame. But as we wrote in our Bloomberg piece, along with Billy House and Laura Litvan, is that Trump is really the wild card. He is new at this, and members of both parties on Capitol Hill say that that is a real possibility, that he could, in fact, veto a bill and live with the consequences. He's done a lot of surprising things in his 100 days in office.
Yeah, it's a fine piece by you, Billy and Laura. Let me ask you about one quotation in it from Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader. He's saying that the conversation between Democrats and Republicans is going fine, and by meddling in this, it stands to get things off course. Is that a sense you get from Republicans as well, that they would rather the White House stay less involved than it might be otherwise?
That's certainly the message from Republican appropriators. These are the members on the spending panel. Tom Cole, who's the head of the subcommittee that considers Department of Labor and Health and Human Services funding, in fact, on MSNBC today was saying, advising the president, just look for this wall funding later in the year. Let's have a full-throated debate in Congress over the funding and come back to this issue later. Let's just get the government funded now. And one of the things that's on the table that we are hearing from sources is a compromise on a plus-up for the Pentagon. We could see perhaps less than the $30 billion that Trump had sought, but still, nonetheless, a substantial increase in military funding. That would be a win for Republicans, and I think members are advising Trump, hey, let's just go for this border wall at a later time.